Right, well, it's a sad day today because I'm going to tell you why you should not buy this Renault Zoe 50. Oh, all right, let's go for a little drive, talk to you about it. So what's been happening then? Well, to be honest, I've been slacking on the YouTube a little bit. No real excuses. I just haven't been doing it. You know, that's just the way it is. I'm not a professional YouTuber, so you know, I've got other stuff going on, and it doesn't really bother me like how much time I spend on this YouTube business. But I've always thought it was really important, like when this electric vehicle stuff really started taking off, that I did these videos because there's plenty of people out there who are kind of wanting to dip their toe in the water too, and you know, this is part of just letting people know kind of what the score is, like good and bad. And unfortunately this video is going to be a bad, you know, some of the badness, and it's not really anything to do with electric cars. It just happens to be this car is causing me some concern. So I was going to do a review in the new year. I thought, you know, happy new year. It's been now over a year since we've had this car. It's probably about a year and 6 months actually, and with the COVID pandemic we just haven't really done that many miles. I mean, this car's done 5,200 miles, but we've got a lot of reasons to be very pleased with it. We were very pleased with our first Zoe as well, to be fair. Our first Zoe was an amazing car. It really was a shock to the system just to see how good it was, and we weren't expecting that because we'd driven the 20 kilowatt version as a test drive and we bought the 40, and clearly between the two huge differences were made. And you know, that was to Renault's credit, right? It was to Renault's credit that this new car, this 40 kilowatt Zoe, was better than the 20, like massively better. And it was in that kind of vein that we just went straight out as soon as the 50 kilowatt version of the Zoe came out, that we went and bought one, and it was cheaper as well. I mean, it was no battery lease, and the payments worked out. We sold the old Zoe back to the dealer for pretty much almost what we bought it for, because the demand for electric cars is so high. So it was kind of a no-brainer, and now it's kind of all gone wrong for us, and pretty much every other Renault Zoe 50 owner that you know, that owns one of these cars. And it isn't to do with anything to do with the electric part of the car. It's all to do, someone just nearly ran into the side of me there. It is all to do with the airbag system in this car. So Euro NCAP did their testing of this new model, and yeah, it turns out that Renault just decided that they would change the airbag for something that was different, but they didn't tell anyone that they did that. So it was only when Euro NCAP crash tested this 50 kilowatt version of the Zoe that it turns out that they'd swapped the airbag, not for one that protects the driver's head, but protects somewhere else on the torso. which means that if you have a side impact in this car, your head has no protection. And Renault have tried to justify this by saying that they did a lot of research into how these cars were being driven, and the statistics pointed to this being a better option. But obviously, I'm not sure that that's the greatest of excuses, because, well, let's just roll the tapes and you can tell me what you think. So there you go. Which one would you rather be in? The old 20 kilowatt Zoe, the old 40 kilowatt Zoe, or this 50 kilowatt Zoe? I know which one my head would rather be in, and it's not this one. And we didn't know when we bought this car. We just assumed, which is, you know, the mother of all, you know, but we just assumed that this would be just as safe. Now I'm just going to pull out. Hopefully no one will crash into the side of me here. It's really frustrating, because this car is, I should be singing this car's praises right now. I should be giving Renault so much free positive publicity about this car, and all that keeps playing over in my mind is those crash test results. And unfortunately for me, it's not a crash test dummy that I see in the videos from Euro NCAP. It's my wife's head and my head. So I cannot recommend this car because of that. The other thing though is, let's just have a look at some of the competition now and what those vehicles are like in an accident. Because since we bought our Zoe, there is now so much competition for electric cars. There's not a lot of price competition. They're all kind of about the same money, but in terms of, but you know, Peugeot have now got the E208, and that car is good. Here's what it looks like in a crash. Not bad, huh? Now you'll notice that car specifically has curtains that come down, so it's not just an airbag that protects the head, and not just an airbag that protects the occupants in the front of the car, but an airbag that protects the whole side of the car and the rear occupants too. And that's something that now I'm looking into it, I'm actually seeing the age of this chassis playing out. So, you know, that is something that's been designed into these new electric cars, which are in this segment. They're in the same segment as this Zoe. Some of them are actually a bit, well, they're in the same ballpark price range as well, depending on the specifications. And they have side impact, these side curtains, and that kind of gets you thinking. Actually, gets us thinking. Well, should we have been so blind as to just go and buy another Zoe? We would have been happy with the Zoe if it had been no less safe than its predecessor, but it just isn't. And so I'm finding myself thinking, I've got to get rid of this car. And I'm genuinely sad about that, because in so many ways this car is still brilliant, and you know, I mean, there are flaws, right? There's things that I don't like about this car that I liked about the other car. So the preheat, not having the preheat button on the remote, that is a big fail for me. It's much harder to use, and if you have 2 keys for a car, I would expect that 2 apps for the car should be able to make the preheat come on, but no, only one app. So I have the app, my wife has the app, but when you configure the app, it basically takes priority, and only one app can preheat the car. That's just stupid. I mean, you know, cars are family things, right? You have, you know, sons, daughters, wives, husbands, all using the same car and all wanting to access the preheat features and stuff like that. So it's just crazy. So just keep it on the fob. It keeps it easy. The interior of this car is a world away from the previous Zoe. They have spent, you know, tons of money researching and investing in the switchgear and the user interface and everything, and it's great. The range is insanely good. We took this up to Norfolk on a holiday, and we drove around, and we thought we would maybe do a bit of a rapid charge video while we were up there, you know, just to test out the rapid charger on the car. And you know, we did about 160, 170 miles on that holiday, and then when we got back to our house, it had 40 miles left in the battery, so we didn't even need to charge it the whole time that we were there, and it was fantastic. Now, take the Nissan Leaf that we also took up to Norfolk, and we didn't do anywhere near as much driving. We had to charge that twice when we were up there. Now, okay, it was fine because we charged it at the campsite, and it just trickle charged on the granny cable overnight. But this car, this 52 kilowatt battery, incredible, absolutely incredible. It drives nicely, it feels nice, heated everything. This is the GT line, so this is the top spec. Yeah, the airbags are still the airbags, and that for me is a bit of a no deal situation. So I've got to get rid of this car, which is a pain, right? Because I've also got to get rid of the Nissan Leaf, because the Nissan Leaf comes to the end of its lease this year. So now I've got to get 2 cars. And I wasn't anticipating having to do that. So priority for me is still to sort out the Leaf, because obviously this car doesn't go anywhere. We own this car, but what I'm thinking about is, you know, Renault need to make up for this. We bought this car in good faith, and they just don't seem to care. Just do not care. And you know, Craig in the forum, the Renault Zoe Owners Club, he has changed his Zoe to a Hyundai Kona. If he can't influence them, and you know, the mass of people in that Owners Club can't influence them, then I don't think anyone's going to influence them. And this is where it gets a bit kind of controversial, I think, for me, because if a manufacturer of vehicles can change the specification of their car midway through its production and make it less safe, meanwhile advertising the car as a 5-star car, then not only is that misleading consumers, which clearly it is, it's also opening the floodgates for any other vehicle manufacturer to do exactly the same thing. In fact, I tweeted at a few manufacturers a couple of weeks ago on Twitter. I said, hey, now that Renault have proven that you can change the specification of your safety equipment halfway through, what are you going to take out? And, you know, I thought, oh, you know, we could have a bit of a laugh here, a bit of a laugh at Renault's expense, get a bit of a Twitter banter going, you know, get some of the other vehicle manufacturers to go, whoa, we would never do anything like that. But do you know what? Do you know what happened? Silence. Absolute deafening silence. Not one of the manufacturers responded. Actually, tell a lie, one of the manufacturers did respond. It was Audi, and it was a bot that said, hey, how can we help you? But no, silence. Deafening silence. And it makes you think, well, who's actually regulating these guys? Who's taking the consumer charge and saying, no, you can't do that. That's wrong. So I'm really annoyed. I'm annoyed. I'm beyond annoyed. But I don't seem to be getting anywhere with Renault. I wrote to Renault. I wrote to the Chief Importance Officer of Customer Service Importance or something, Director of, and he hasn't replied. So I wrote to Renault's customer service desk, and they sent me a reply that was so generic and written in multiple fonts, by the way. So clearly just cut and paste from multiple different pieces of text cobbled together by various lawyers at various times using various emails. At least it didn't come in Comic Sans. But you know, really annoying responses. Just kind of, yeah, we really, you know, we think the car's really safe still. We paid for this company that did all this research, and they told us that this was the best thing to do, and by the way, we paid them to tell us to do this. So it wasn't really independent. It's not like Euro NCAP. So, you know, what do you expect? What do you expect to get if you pay for a company to advise you, and you know you like the answer? So I mean, I've seen that this is going to cost Renault some money, because it's clearly something that's going to mean that they're going to lose sales. And I've seen people cancel out their you know, they're not going to buy the car. They're saying they're going to not buy the car. I've seen people saying that they're going to trade it in, or they're going to ask for their money back. I've even seen somebody somewhere in Europe who has actually managed to get the dealer or Renault to buy the car back from them, which is you know, good on them. I've emailed my dealer. They didn't respond. I haven't spoken to them yet, because I've had lots of other stuff going on, including COVID. But I'm going to give them a call and see what they're going to do, because I'm just not going to buy a Renault ever again. Because essentially, if you buy a Renault again now, right, it's like being in an abusive relationship. As far as I'm concerned, this is an abusive relationship, right? They've messed me around. They said everything's fine when it's clearly not fine, and it's definitely not going to be fine for my head if I'm in an accident. And then what? You're expected just to go and buy another car and go, yeah, okay, I believe everything you say. No. Now the problem with that is, of course, you know, who do you trust, right? Because if you go out and buy a new car these days, you're basically a test pilot. Because until it's crash tested, until it's independently tested, then you've got the manufacturer's word for it, and no one else's. So I'm not very happy about that situation. It's getting a bit cold. I'm gonna have to turn this on. Got the heat seats going, but a bit of aircon going on here as well. It's not very warm today. So yeah, unhappy man. I'm a very unhappy man. What would you do? What would you do if you were in my position right now? What are you doing if you're in my position right now? Do you own a Renault Zoe 50 kilowatt and you've got the same situation with the airbags? I'm quite mechanically minded, so I've taken a few cars to bits over the years, and I thought, well, maybe I could just go down to the breaker's yard and buy some seats out of a 40 kilowatt or a 20 kilowatt Zoe and put those in. But of course, it's not as easy as that, is it? Because the airbag in these seats is in a different position, and accidents happen at such a high speed that milliseconds count, right? So whilst your car is having an accident, the computer that's controlling those airbags inside is having, multiple decisions within those milliseconds as to exactly what moment to fire the airbag, and that is based on the airbag that is in the car. So if I change the seats, change the airbag, then it's essentially a situation where now we don't know what's going to happen. We don't know what's going to happen if I put other seats in, and the only way to find out is to crash the car. So I think our options are basically, we've got to get the dealer or the manufacturer, we've got to get the manufacturer to do something about this. Either just buy this car back off me. This is a £33,000 car, right? This is not a cheap car. The only reason we can really afford it is because that we made money essentially on the last one. We didn't lose money basically. So it's really annoying. And how much money have I now lost on this car? How many people are going to come out and buy this car off me? I don't know. Okay, so I think if you're a young single male and think you're invincible, then you probably don't give a monkeys about airbags. But how many of those people also want to buy a Renault Zoe? Yeah. So it's tricky, really tricky. And I'm thinking, I don't want to sell this car in good conscience privately. You can imagine the conversation. What do you do? Just kind of, I'm just not that sort of person who can just say, oh yeah, it's fine. No problems here, really good, nice safe car. So my options are therefore limited to selling it for less money, because you always get a bit more money when you sell a car privately, right? So now I'm thinking, well, I'm going to have to sell it to We Buy Any Car, and We Buy Any Car have said we'll give you 20 grand for it, and I've got 33 grand in this car, and I'm like, 20 grand in a year and a half, so that's £13,000 less. When every other car on the planet, second hand, is going up in value because people can't buy cars, can't get the parts. We went into Skoda the other day to have a look at the Enyaq, which is unbelievable. And it's like, oh yeah, 6 months. So this car should be worth way more money. So yeah, any dealers out there want to get, maybe we should just blow it up, like maybe that's what we should do. Maybe we should blow this car up, because there was that guy in America, wasn't he? He blew his Tesla up all over the papers. I can't really afford to blow this car up. I do have access to a large airfield, like one of those Top Gear ones, so we could definitely have the space to blow it up. We'd probably need to take the battery out because they probably wouldn't like that. But yeah, we could blow it up. That might get some views on the old tube, get a few more subscribers. Yeah, we just need to work out the marketing of that. So, maybe if you're another vehicle manufacturer who wants to poke Renault in the eye, Peugeot or Citroen or Volkswagen, you had a bit of a rough time, Volkswagen, all that emissions crap. why don't you, you know, send a piece to Renault? Yeah, let me know if you want to fund me to blow this car up. Great, we'll do it. But yeah, that's all I've got apart from lawyers, bloody lawyers. Get some lawyers involved, shall we? Get them to get stuck in. And have you got lawyers already? If you've got one of these cars, are you already taking the legal action? Because that's the way it looks like it's going for me. Contacted Which, haven't had a response from them. Contacted the Ombudsman not that long ago, so we'll see what they come back with. There is actually a motor ombudsman. However, I don't know how much in the pocket they are of the motor industry. We'll see. And I'm not even sure it's this sort of complaint that they would know what to do with. But it's a massive issue, right? Everyone who owns one of these cars has got this problem. And it's just such a shame, right? The response from Renault has been appalling. Just hiding behind some nonsense, like where have they learned that just hiding behind some crap statements can just make stuff go away? Where have they learned that? What examples have been set by people that would make people just believe that they can just be fobbed off and lied to? Maybe we're going to see some alternative facts from Renault. I don't know. So yeah, it's really upsetting. But you can't buy this car if you're and you know, I should be saying great, this amazing car, brilliant car, but it's not. Well, it is, but it's going to kill you if you have an accident. Because that's the thing, that's the most upsetting thing, right? In that safety NCAP video is that you can see the head hit the pole, and that's like, well, that's game over, isn't it? I don't care who you are, that is game over, brain damage, life-changing injuries is what that is. And I don't want any of those life-changing injuries, thank you very much. Am I going to go out of my way to hit into a pole? No, but this is the thing with a side impact, it's not normally your choice. It's normally some other absolute numpty pulling into the side of you. Ice, skidding on ice, problem conditions, tyre blowout, punctures. These are things that are beyond your control. You cannot control that kind of event, right? So it's not good. It's not good what they've done. And all they should have done is say, yeah, fair cop, bring your car in and we'll change the airbags out. Job's a good one. Car's just as safe as it ever was. And this is one thing, right, that is not Renault's fault, but Euro NCAP's fault. Is I don't agree with what Euro NCAP have done around their star ratings. So if you've bought a TV or something, or a piece of white goods in the last kind of year or so, maybe a couple of years, they've changed the because everything started to get to A star, right? And then they put A triple star. And so you buy a fridge and it would be like an A triple star fridge. You buy a TV and it'd be like an A triple star TV. And obviously they just went, this is getting ridiculous, so we're going to change the settings on these ratings. And now, I bought a TV the other day and it's like G rated, but it's probably the most efficient TV that I've ever owned, right? But they've changed the thresholds for the different ratings because everything's gotten better. So Euro NCAP have done the same kind of thing, right? They've kind of gone, oh right, everyone's cars are getting safer and they're always getting 5 stars now, so we're going to change what needs to happen to get to 5 stars. Personally, what I think they should have done was give more stars. So instead of 5 stars, they should have just gone 10 stars, because then we could really see what this car would have scored against the old ratings, because the old Zoe scored 5 stars. This car has scored 0, and clearly it's not that much less safe. It is less safe because of the airbag, but it's not that much less safe. And the reason is because it doesn't have all these fancy driver aids on the on the low version. Right, I'm going to go and say hello to some people now. I'll be back in a minute. Right, that's some people seen, who I haven't seen in a while because I've been isolating. This is not fun. So what I was saying before I stopped in there was that Euro NCAP should have added stars because they're expecting more from cars. So instead of having 5 stars, they should now have 10 stars, because actually now they're looking for all these kind of automated safety features like lane keeping and automatic emergency braking and speed limiters, and kind of loads and loads of things that weren't necessary for 5 stars when this car first got its 5 stars. And I think it would be fairer, and I think it would make more sense if people had a consistent number of stars. So actually, what would this car have scored if it had the same tests as its predecessor? So when the car was originally tested and now then tested again, would it have dropped from 5 stars to 4 stars because of the airbag issue? Or would it have dropped from 5 stars to 3 stars because of the airbag issue? We don't know, because they've changed the specifications. Whereas if they'd have just added more stars to the Euro NCAP testing, then we would have got a much clearer picture, because it would have gone down to 3 stars or 4 stars. The other thing that is interesting is, depending on which car you have, it depends on how many stars your car has, because Euro NCAP only tests the base model, and that's quite right. I totally agree. Safety shouldn't be something you pay extra for. They should be standard features of the car. So because this is a GT line, this car is technically safer than the base model that was actually tested. But how much safer is, we don't know, because they're never going to test the GT line, because that's the point of what they do. They're making the point that, well, they're not going to buy a load of cars and test every single model to see which one's safer than the other. So they're just going to take the... Oh, yeah. Yes, I know. Roadworks. Nightmare. So instead, what they're asking the manufacturers to do is just fit all the safety stuff to their base model cars. Now this car is interesting actually, because again, in Renault's response to me, they said, oh, it's really safe, it's got things like automatic emergency braking and all that kind of stuff, and I'm like, no. As far as I'm concerned, this car doesn't have automatic emergency braking, because it was something that they sort of removed at some point from their options. But I knew that when I bought it, and to be honest, some of these safety features like automatic emergency braking are not that great, and they're very variable depending on the manufacturer. So I've definitely had experiences in my old Volvo where the automatic emergency braking cut in for no reason. and that's a big problem if you've got someone behind you and your car just slams its brakes on. It seemed to be with the Volvo. It seemed to be when there was. Oh, you're going to do that, are you? Yeah, it seemed to be every time we get up to a speed hump or something like that, the emergency braking would kick in. So, yeah, these kind of autonomous aids aren't necessarily great. But yeah, they do work in emergencies as well. It's just the times when they work when they shouldn't. So I'm kind of thinking again, like this car hasn't that's why I think adding more stars is the best way to do it, because you understand what those stars are referring to new things, and it doesn't invalidate all of the old tests. Now you've got a situation where you've got a 5-star car which is no longer a 5-star car because things have moved on, whereas actually, you know, it's you know, I mean, this car has gone backwards, but you know, if you retested, oh, Jesus, people are absolute maniacs out there today. So that's that. Anyway, you know, obviously it's not Euro NCAP's fault that this car, the Renault took the airbags out, but I think what they've done in terms of mixing up their stars is a pain, especially if you're buying second hand, right? So you're buying a second hand car and you're like, oh, I'll go to Euro NCAP, and yeah, okay, it'll say that the rating has expired, but you kind of still want to know how safe it is. But it's now a relative factor. I think that's just a big mistake that they've made there. But ultimately, it doesn't excuse the fact that Renault have taken out some safety from this car, which is a big problem for me. It's a problem I don't think I needed to have, and it's going to cost me money. It's either going to cost me money because this car is worth less, or I can't sell it, or I'm going to be spending effort to try and find another car and then trade this one in, and then the dealer can say, you know, oh, I'm not going to give you as much money for it, or whatever, you know, whatever way, this is costing me money. And that's before I even think about getting, you know, some legal representation in to you know, and you know, maybe there's an opportunity there to club together with some other owners to express our displeasure at the company and try and get them to put it right. I think for me the other thing is this precedent it sets. I don't like the precedent that it sets. We've all seen this emissions scandal stuff, so is this going to be safety gate? Is there going to be another scandal, which is basically that vehicle manufacturers are messing with their specification? I don't know. It could be the start of another scandal, couldn't it? So if you're a lawyer looking for work, could be a rich seam of you could be onto a winner here. So, you know, get in touch. I really feel for, you know, it is a sad state of affairs. It's a very sad state of affairs, this, because, you know, like I said before, I should be singing the praises of this car. I should be telling you all you should go out and buy one, and yet I'm telling you all you shouldn't, because of some stupidity at Renault. And it's a real shame, right? Because this car's given us a great introduction, or the last car, great introduction into EVs. Totally converted to EVs. Never buying another petrol or diesel car unless it's like a classic or something. So yeah, I mean, what can you say, right? It's a great car, and it would be a great car if they just left the airbags alone. No one would have complained about it if they'd have just left these airbags alone. But you know, they've done a great job with the interior. The interior of the old Renault was a bit rubbish, showing its age. They've made an effort here. They made an effort with the exterior, new bumpers. Made an effort with the headlights. Headlights are amazing now. They're, you know, the old headlights were like candles in jam jars. They were crap. Nighttime driving in the old Zoe was rubbish. These are absolutely amazing headlamps. All LED, of course, now as well. You know, all of it's thrown away because the safety is the issue, right? Should I put my family in a car that is less safe? You know, well, who's going to respond to that advert? You know, now with less safety, and also the competition now, the competition that you've got in this segment, right? They've all got side curtains. Even the Fiat 500 EV has got side impact curtains, which I can show here. And so, you know, even a very small car like that, it'd be interesting to see if they retest the i3, the BMW i3, because that's been around for the same amount of time. It wasn't a 5-star car, I don't think, even. I think it was like a 3-star car when it came out. So, you know, is it going to suffer the same fate if they retest that car now? Is it going to suffer the same fate? I don't know. We shall see. Because obviously that car's been out for a long time. It's had a number of revisions, number of battery size increases. Have they slipped up in the same way? Have they removed features? It would be interesting to see if they do retest that car and what it does. Now, before Christmas, we did start to go out and have a look at some cars, mostly because of the Leaf is coming up for its renewal. And I have asked Octopus Energy. I said, you know, would you consider like extending the lease for another year? But I'm not paying what I'm paying now for it, because I can literally buy the 60 kilowatt version of the Leaf for the same money as I'm paying a month for the 40 kilowatt version. So, but they were like, no, we're not interested. So, okay, fine. Which is a real shame, right? Because I've only been actually participating in the trial for such a short period of time, so they could have had someone, you know, for a bit longer. Because I may even just get another Nissan Leaf. I may get a 40 kilowatt hour second-hand one now, because actually it's a real safe bet. It's got rapid gate. I don't care, because I don't go far enough in it to really have a problem with rapid gate. So it'd be, you know, quite easily I could go out and spend, you know, maybe 18 grand and get a Nissan Leaf, 40 kilowatt, and if I wanted to get a 62 kilowatt one, the dealers are easily taking like 4 or 5 grand off the price of those, because they know the Aria's coming, they know the rapid gate issue is an issue. It is the cheapest EV you can go out and buy, apart from like the MG, and I'm not a fan of the MG. So what I'm thinking at the moment is we'll try and get like a second-hand EV, like another Leaf, like we'll buy one, and then essentially that will mean then we can put more money into maybe something like a Skoda Enyaq. Although the only problem with the Skoda Enyaq is the options list is ridiculous. And the thing that the Volkswagen Group have got wrong on the Enyaq, right, and their whole electric cars, is like the Enyaq is the best one. So it's not. It's like it's got the biggest boot, and you know, if you're a family going on holidays and camping and all that kind of stuff, it's the best one. But like in terms of money, you can spec it up to like nearly 60,000 quid, which is insane for a Skoda, and they don't change the badge if you get it to 60,000. So it's like what it should be is like as you spec up your VW, as you spec up. What it should be is as you spec up your Enyaq, you know, if it goes over like 45 grand, it gets to be a VW, and if it goes over 50 grand, it turns into an Audi, and you know, and so on. Because that's kind of how it feels to me. Is it you're buying the same car? It's either an ID4 or the, you know, the EQ4 or whatever it's called. But yeah, you know, you're spending Audi money on a Skoda essentially, so they should just at least change the badge for you. But some of the options are just not options. You know, they say it starts from 30 grand. Yeah, that's the 60 kilowatt hour version, and you think, wow, 60 kilowatts, that's a big battery, right? It's a massive car, so you know, 60 kilowatts in that size of vehicle doesn't get you very far. So really you need the 80, maybe, don't know, but I'm thinking that's kind of where my head's at right now. And then you don't get like heat pump. If you want a heat pump, it's £1,000 more. Like that's a part of the car. Like that's a part of the, you know, that's not an option. That is an essential component of the vehicle. If you want good range in winter and stuff like that, when you're running the AC and the heater, you need a heat pump. So the why they think they can put that optional is beyond me, absolutely beyond me. So I'd love to get an Enyaq, but I think it's just going to be a bit too much money, unless the second-hand ones start appearing. There are a few, but yeah, we'll see. I've also been thinking of maybe like buying a super cheap EV, like going out there and trying to find the cheapest, like maybe like a 30 kilowatt Nissan Leaf, like maybe an accident damage one, like a Cat N or a Cat S with a little bit of damage, and kind of doing it up, because that could be quite interesting content for a start. And I used to do up cars a little bit and kind of miss it. So that could be quite fun. Let me know if you'd want to see that. And yeah, maybe we do a little bit of work on one. See what you get. What is the cheapest electric vehicle you could get? I wonder. It's probably going to be a Nissan Leaf, I'd imagine, because there's just so many of them, and they've been out for so long. And you don't have the battery, well, some of them do have battery leases, but I think they gave most people the option to buy out their batteries a long time ago, whereas Renault have only just started doing that with the Zoes. So again, another Zoe, you get an older Zoe maybe, with the proper airbags. And another car just tried to ride in the side of me. Always good when you haven't got the airbags for it anymore. Anyway, that's it. That's the end of the video. So the upshot of this is still on at Renault. Need to ratchet that up a bit, but unless there is a link over here somewhere in the video saying that Renault have fixed all these problems, and I will link to a video if that happens, then you must not buy this car unless you know what you're getting into. You know now the airbag issue, you know the Euro NCAP issue, and if you're cool with that, then I guess you might get a bit of a bargain, because in every other respect, this car's great. But I am prioritising keeping my family safe, so we need to do something about it. So the main thing that we're doing about it before we get rid of it, obviously, is not driving it. We'll drive the other car. But I thought I'd drive this car and take the risk to make this video, because it would look a bit weird if I didn't. But yeah, very sad times all round. Feel really sorry for the owners club. Craig puts a lot of effort into that owners club, way more effort than I would ever put into something like that, for the, you know, for the amount of shtick that, you know, they get out of that. Feel sorry for the dealers as well, because I bet you they weren't told. No way were they told. So, you know, they're going to see a hit on that. So yeah, don't forget, like, share, subscribe, get in touch if this has affected you as well, and we'll see you in the next one.